last few weeks, Janice and I have been sharing a little bit about some of our insights and experience after 50 years of marriage. And so we wanted to do that today. And when I was talking with my wife earlier about this broadcast, she said, why don't we talk about something positive for a change? So that's what we're going to be doing here tonight. And I had some ideas on how we can do that. And that's what we're going to be doing. I'm going to turn my phone on Do Not Disturb so that I won't have people giving me a call during the broadcast. So there we go. We will be right back with something positive. So when I was talking with Janice, and let me bring her on here. Hello, Janice. How you doing tonight?
Hello. Good.
Your hair looks lovely.
Thanks.
we just had a little episode of wonky hair.
I can't do this backward thing
in the broadcast, and so she had to dismiss herself so she could go in and fix her hair. So I'm glad that you were able to get that done. So tell me a little bit about when you were talking about that you wanted to talk about something positive.
I'm kind of scared because I just said that and then you went and ran with it, and I know you have photos and you didn't okay them with me or anything. So I'm a little nervous.
Yeah. It always gets a little bit nervous. This is, or at least a little bit nerve-wracking. That this is actually based on an acrostic that a therapist friend of mine created, and it's the letters that spell out loving, LOVING, and that he essentially gave those. Assigned a description to each one of those, and the V is valued time together. That's valued time together. And so when you were thinking a little bit earlier about the some of the positive memories, do you recall anything that you wanted to share?
Well, I brought up to you about the kids when they were little and how fun it was, to have little kids. They just cracked us up. They entertained us all the time.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, you talked about, marriage before the children came along.
Yeah.
Tell them about the birthday gift that I bought you.
We got married.
I am romantically challenged.
You're getting better.
I know.
Well, we were married at the end of May, and my birthday's in July, and we lived across the parking lot from the church that I grew up in for the first 3 months that we were married, and so I was waiting for him to get home most of the day because we were having this event over at the church and I wanted him to come to that and everything, but he was working and he got home late. And so then he said, well, there's a gift for you, and he's all excited about it and everything. And I think he, it was in the house or whatever. So I went and I got the gift and everything, and he bought me an ironing board.
I am a romantic
what
fool.
Every 20-year-old wants.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that you probably did say something that was the one thing that we didn't get
for a wedding gift.
For a wedding gift.
Yeah, we got about everything that we could possibly need except for a ironing board and a cheese grater.
That in that place where we lived when we first were married, is that it was a little one-bedroom
Really?
apartment. Yeah, in a very bad neighborhood. And it also had a hole in the wall of the shower that went to the outside. And it was a big enough hole that a raccoon could get through it.
It also had wood shingles on the front room wall.
I know, yeah, yeah. So I think we paid $70 a month for that place. I think that's what it was.
I think it was 95, but I'm not sure.
Oh, whatever. It doesn't matter. So, but what we wanted to do is share a little bit about some of our, and these are just selected at random. We got a lot. Go ahead, Janice.
Oh, I'm scared. He always puts the worst pictures of me on Facebook and everything.
No, I don't. You know, this is
Yes, you do.
no, I don't. So, and I'm going to prove it right now because this is not a bad picture of you. It's a bad picture of me. That tuxedo, that, my friends, is is kind of like the tuxedo to end all tuxedos. Las Vegas wallpaper is what I called it. So,
That's not what you called it. They called it cool.
yeah, back in the day, you know. And so whenever I've posted this picture about the tuxedos, that different ones say, "Man, that's so cool," you know. But yeah,
We have friends that were married almost the same time as us. And I
mm-hmm.
noticed on Facebook in their wedding pictures that her dress is super similar to mine, and his jacket is not much better than yours.
Well, at least I don't feel so bad. So Bill Paul, he's the same fellow who led me to Christ, is the fellow who officiated our wedding. He was from Colorado, and we were married in California. So I was grateful that he was willing to come out for that event.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he just passed not too long ago. He was in his 90s. Just a remarkable guy. Had translated the Bible at least one time. Maybe, you know, was working on either his second pass. He was the editor of the Bible, some sort of, you know, Bible collector's newsletter, and he had so many editions of various translations of the Bible that he donated them to a university. So, if I remember right. So, okay. Well, let's go ahead and we'll take a look at some of these others. This is, I think, our 25th anniversary, wasn't it? In Cambria?
I don't know.
We have a friend who has been very generous, who has a beautiful home in Cambria. And so we have gone up there on occasion, and he lets us use the house. And it's just, you know, it's overlooking a kind of a vast park area, and you can see the ocean from there. And it's just a wonderful place to go, and we really appreciate his generosity in letting us use that for special occasions. That, you know, no matter what, it seems like whenever we try to get away, that somebody we know dies. It just seems like that. And I remember that on that anniversary, that I'm getting the call that a ministry colleague of mine had died. So, but okay, and this is our 50th anniversary at Crystal Cove Beach, and so and we say, you know, people say, well, here's to 50 more, and we say we don't want to go that far.
No.
You know, and that's one of the good things of having the hope of heaven, is because we know that this life is not the end, you know. And so I'll be glad, and while it's been a wonderful time with you, I'll be glad to have all of the trials and tribulations of life behind us, you know. However, I'm in no rush to get there. Is that kind of a weird thing, you know? Is that as Christians, we always want to go to heaven, but nobody is in a rush to get there.
I think it's kind of scary.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. What makes it scary?
Well, usually you have to either get in an accident that kills you or
Yeah.
get really sick.
Yeah. Yeah. Or die all at once, you know. So, okay. Well, here is our first house. That's the that's
Where
the
was that?
that was in Kenya.
Oh, okay.
We had gone to Kenya. How many times did you go?
Once.
Once. Okay. Well, this is probably the only time you went then. Is that we had gone to Kenya uh, um, as part or to visit a ministry that a mission that we support there called Tumaini International, and they do a wonderful work. We know Stanley and Rose Matunga. They are the founders of that. Started off by helping AIDS orphans, and that Stanley and
Started
Rose.
off with their 12 relatives.
I know that some of it was either Stanley or Rose's. I think it was Stanley's siblings died, leaving 12 kids behind, and so they stepped up, and now they have helped thousands of children and vulnerable persons in that region and beyond, and they are in the process of building a hospital over there.
I think it's done, or it's going to have the grand opening soon.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this
We
is
got
not.
to see our two kids that we sponsored, Gladys and Matthew.
Yeah, and I had their pictures, but I figured that we would not pull those into this particular slide series. I'm kind of thinking that maybe we'll do another slide series because we got so many slides of, after 50 years, and I'm always taking pictures, which annoys everybody, but I'm kind of like the family archivist, So, but and this is our first Colorado home. That we were married in California, but then, and we served in a small little church in Oakland. We were the only white
church.
Yeah, we were the only white people at that church, and so then we moved back to Colorado for me to finish my education. And this is was at the apartment for our first apartment there. So, a beautiful young woman, and still a beautiful woman.
Young.
Yeah, that was. How old do you think you are in that picture?
20.
Okay, 20 years old. So, all right. So, this is the beginning of our family life. Oops, I got that wrong, that date there.
Yeah, you did.
Karen wasn't born.
On our anniversary.
No, I forgot to take that out. But she was born a couple years later. And
she was barely our 1976 baby.
Yeah. So she is our oldest. And I remember that experience well, and I'm sure you even remember it better, But we'd gone through Lamaze classes, and I got
to tell this story.
No, I was a very dutiful student in the Lamaze class.
No. No, we went with our best friends who were also having a baby. Their baby was born 1 week after ours, I think. Mm-hmm. And Kerry and our friend Dawn goofed off the entire time. The only thing they remembered was that, and the teacher said, usually in a class this size, there are 2 women who end up having C-sections. And who was it? Me and Becky. Good thing, because you guys hadn't paid any attention to anything, except for Kerry did remember that we should bring him food because it could last a long time, and then he could be really hungry. And so before my water broke and before I went to the hospital, I had to make him a sandwich. And the nurse said, "Why were you so long?"
There was a, you tell that story with such disdain. So,
I forgive you.
and yeah, and all I was doing was I was just following the instructions of what the lady told us to do.
Yeah.
And that okay, let me see if I can get the next slide up here. And one of the things when it comes to valued time together, I think couples make a big mistake. We were talking about this earlier, of having to have a big splash in order to make memories. Whether it's the big splash wedding that they'll spend, tens of thousands upon thousands of dollars, or tens upon thousands and thousands of dollars for honeymoon or various travel, and a lot of that is that we have found that just spending valued time together doesn't have to come with a high price tag. So we spent a lot of time with family on holidays. This is our middle child, and I think that's such an adorable picture of her.
She is so cute.
Yeah, and we just had so much fun with the kids. This is over at your grandma's house, and we would go there quite frequently to spend time, not just on holidays, but and I'm pretty certain that this is an Easter.
Yeah, because look at her hat.
I know. Yeah. But there you go, man. And that's not that. I've always had this kind of wild hair thing going on, and that's not my hair down on my back of my neck. That's a shadow from the flash. But
oh, it is.
Yeah. But my hair was always just kind of, and I remember the day of our wedding too. I remember I was having such a bad hair day that day. But I also, for the longest time in my early ministry, I wore a mustache, I guess, to give me a little more credibility. I saw one picture, and I was going to include it of me with a beard. And I think that I really look good with a beard. But I hate it. I hate growing a beard and having that hair on my face. It annoys me constantly, So, but these are our three kids. This is probably, I don't know, maybe might be Christmas time, or it might be just having fun together. And the other day we were talking to Thomas, and tell the folks a little bit about what he said is one of his earliest good memories of the family.
Well, he said he just remembers being on your bike and riding all over. Mm-hmm. He said going to the post office.
Yeah. And when I think about it, because I had a 10-speed bike with a little plastic child carrier on the back of it, and I took the kids everywhere on that. Mm-hmm. And that, and of course, if we would have fallen over or something, because we would at times go pretty fast, but fortunately, we didn't wipe out on any of those occasions. Mm-hmm. Having little kids is such fun.
It is.
It is. I can think of so many times back in those days that are just things that you carry with you the rest of your life.
I can even remember sitting around the table at dinner time, and we would say things like, "Okay, tell us a joke," or something like that, And they would say something like, "The door is red, ha ha ha."
Yeah.
And we'd all laugh.
Yeah, we had a great time. So that's so, and like I said, you don't have to spend a lot of money. There's me with my wild hair again, but and that's Karen, I think, down, or maybe that's Lori down at the bottom. We would go out to the park, and this is, I think, at Nolan Park in Oakland.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably when it was safe, at least somewhat safe, to go to Oakland, and that we would spend time on the swings, and I think it's just having those times together, rather than trying to spend all of that money and create all of that stress and build all of those expectations. Is just enjoy each other's company.
We did take them to Disneyland a
Yeah,
couple times,
a couple
stuff,
times.
but,
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
One time we took the kids to Disneyland, and remember the hotel we went to?
Yeah, it wasn't built yet.
I know. I looked it up in the AAA book, and I said, "Well, yeah." I said, "This is the place that we're going to go stay." And when we got there, it wasn't even built yet. So, but and here again, this is I think Lake Elizabeth in Fremont. We're just going out and spending time and going down the slide with Lori.
Mm-hmm.
So, and here we are, a few years down the road, obviously, back at Cambria for one of the family get-togethers there again at our friend's house, who has been so generous and such a blessing to us, because we'd never be able to stay in Cambria on a pastor's salary, despite what people think, that all pastors, that they're just kind of like milking the church for all the money they can get. I always tell people that I didn't get the ticket for that bus ride. So, but we've been blessed. We truly have. And, plenty. And there again, like what my friend says, is that loving acrostic, and the V is valued time together. What makes, how about for you, Janice, what makes time valuable together? So when do you consider that you've had a good time with the family?
And we all get together and laugh and play
Mm-hmm.
games and do all that stuff.
I love it, and I love it that our family it's not perfect, obviously, but I love it when we can just kind of like have a stress-free and conflict-free time together, and laugh and play games or go for a walk or whatever it is that we like to do. One of the things I've been doing with my grandson here lately, and he did it just recently when we went down to celebrate our daughter's half birthday, because she decided to move her birthday to the half year because she was born in December. But so we went down there, and what he and I had done in the past is take photos, and then we go into our photo editing program and we decide whose edited photo looks the best. One of these days, he might win. But
Not
yeah.
if you're the judge.
Yeah, exactly. So, but just that valued time together. Now, one of the things that we've enjoyed is having vacations, and this is our RV. That our very first RV. It's the very only RV we've ever had.
That wasn't even ours. We borrowed it from my dad.
I know.
And that's a tent trailer, and it's a trailer with a tent on it.
Yeah.
That's all.
I loved that tent trailer, though.
We all did, yeah.
So the metal part there is long enough for two people. It's like maybe the size of a twin bed. You know, it's not very comfortable. And it had a foam mattress on it. So then the tent folded up onto that metal trailer for transportation, but then we would open it up and there'd be bars in the inside to give it support and so on and so forth. And then the floor space would also become the sleeping space for the kids. You know? And on the sides, they had on each side drop down shelves. You know,
on the trailer.
Yeah, on the trailer. So that's where we packed our food and things like that. You know, we went on a lot of great. We had a lot of great times.
Yeah.
How about for you? When you think about that, anyone that stands out for you?
Well, one of the ones we went on when Karen was born, we went to Big Basin, and I remember it was, I set her on the little picnic table bench so that she could stay clean for a few minutes while we tried to put the tent and get the camp going and everything. And she fell off and kind of planted her face in the dirt. So she was immediately just like covered in dirt,
Yeah.
And I think I was 8 months pregnant with Lori at that time. And I had a heart murmur.
But we did not let that slow us down.
No.
No. So now this is a story that only you can tell.
That.
Yeah. So this is one of our trips to Yosemite. Tell me a little, and this is after Thomas was born. You can see shortly thereafter.
I think he was only about maybe 2 months old.
Yeah.
And so, I look grumpy, right?
Well, you have to tell
why
the story.
I'm mad.
I'm not going to tell your story. You're the one who has to tell your story.
Well, you see those little fence behind us? I think we're at Glacier Point, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the girls kept standing on that. And, like when you look down, the cars look like an ant. And I kept telling them to get off of it. And Kerry's like, oh, they're fine, And so then he takes them and starts jumping around on rocks over there. So I finally went to the car and said, I'm sitting in the car, try to bring them back alive.
Valued time together. So, but
oh boy,
that was, and I didn't ever consider that the kids were at risk there in Yosemite. I would not put my children at risk. There was one time, however, when we were driving from California to Colorado, and we stopped off at a road stop, and I started scampering on rocks with the girls, and there were no fences or anything like that, and it probably wasn't the smartest thing to do. But we've lived to tell the story. So we did visit Colorado on occasion. That's where my folks lived. And this was actually in May in Colorado, if I remember right, in the blizzard of 82,
Yeah.
83? Blizzard of 82.
I thought it was at Christmas, but whatever.
No, it was in May.
Oh.
Yeah, I remember that blizzard. It was just remarkable. So, and if it weren't for my mom and dad, we really wouldn't have been able to go on too many out-of-state vacations, because they were always the one that would pay for our way, including one time we rode the train all the way from
the Bay Area.
Yeah, in the Bay Area to Colorado. Thomas had a little backpack on his back that he could barely carry, and he would topple over.
I think he was like 2. He fell over backward.
Yeah. But and then my dad, he was always buying us some junker car, and here's an old Oldsmobile, I believe it is, or a Plymouth, I can't remember for sure, station wagon. And so he brought it out. He drove it out to California, and then he left it with us, and I guess they flew back. We didn't make them walk back. But But I remember my dad, and my dad is one of these types of guys that nobody tells him what to do. He just does what he wants, And we were driving. This is on one of the two drivable beaches in America, Pismo Beach, and then the other one is in Florida. But at one point we got kind of like way too close to the water, the water's edge. But then my dad decided, okay, well, I'm going to just pull the car around. You guys get out and play. And then he got that thing high-centered in the sand dunes, completely immobile. And there's no way he was ever going to get that out. And some guys came by with a Jeep. And that they said, we'll tow you out for a case of beer. So he bought him a case of beer. And from what I've heard is that he got off really cheap because once you're stranded there, you're at the mercy of the people who have the equipment to pull you out. So, well, this is actually a picture of my family in Florida. Well, some of them. That's Lori there on the left of the screen, and then my nephew Sean, and then that's my brother Don. Maybe you can see the family resemblance. I love that photo. Redhead. Yeah, I love that photo of Don. So, but and then part of it is making memories and creating traditions. And one Christmas it was so stinking hot out, and we all went outside, and we were sitting around outside, and I don't know how did it come about that we decided.
We were eating breakfast on the patio, and it was already so hot we could hardly stand it. And so someone said, "Oh, we need hats." So I just went. I never wear a hat, so we went in and we just pulled out all these hats. I'm also wearing my pajamas and an apron, and so I went in and got everybody hats, and I put that one on, and everybody's like, "You look just like your brother." And so I had these mustaches from Halloween. So I went and got it and put it on, and then everybody was laughing because they said I looked just like my brother. And yeah.
So then we started the tradition of dressing up for Christmas.
Yeah, we have themes.
We have Christmas themes. And so, that one of them is one of the more memorable ones was Biker Christmas. We got all of these temporary tattoos and decorated our bodies with temporary tattoos and went with the whole biker theme.
Well, we didn't have any grandkids at that time.
Yeah.
And we didn't live by any family. And so when we moved, it was just our little family. And so we were sad a lot of times on Christmas and, feeling bad and everything. Well, then Karen got married and her and Matt would come over for Christmas and stuff. But still, it was just kind of boring, And it's not to take anything away from Jesus's birth at all.
No.
Because we totally understand and celebrate Jesus for Christmas, but for that whole day we would just dress in a theme. Sometimes we even eat food that's kind of that theme or play games or whatever, so and we have a lot of fun.
Yeah, we do. So, and we also have some adventures like Janice eating frog in Cambodia.
Yeah, I didn't really touch my mouth.
and Kerry eating who knows what in Cambodia. I really like that. They have actually hot soups that they serve for breakfast, and I would always get the seafood one, and and I really appreciate. I know, Janice, that you really kind of like stepped out of your comfort zones to go with me on some of these crazy adventures, including going to the carnivore restaurant in Kenya.
That was fun.
Yeah. So just briefly talk a little bit about the carnivore restaurant.
Well, the thing I remember about it the most is it was a very nice restaurant, there
Hmm.
in Kenya. We had where we were staying was very primitive and everything, but this restaurant was nice. And we went with some of the people who worked there. And one of the guys, I really liked him a lot. And he was sitting directly across from me. And he had never eaten turkey. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You've never eaten turkey? Like they had like what, camel and all
Yeah.
kinds of
And
food there,
ostrich and
and
yeah,
it's like, and turkey's the weird one to you, okay. I said, well, it's a lot like chicken, so
yeah.
he took a bite of it and he was gagging. Like I thought he was going to lose his whole dinner. I
So
thought that was hilarious.
yeah, it was. So and also one of the things I've enjoyed about our marriage is letting your husband embarrass himself, like all of the dance parties that I did in Cambodia. That that when we would go for many years, I was helping with a ministry, Rafa International in Cambodia, rescuing kids from the human trafficking and exploitation. And the first time, I think it was the first time we went out there, I told the guy who was the co-founder of that ministry, Joe Garman, I said, I just really feel moved, by the Spirit of God, that I'd like to have a dance party for the kids. Not, not some sort of crazy thing, but just almost like a daddy-daughter dance where they have a chance to be kids and have fun and laugh and giggle and be silly and things like that. And so every time we would go, we would have a dance party. And amen, I tell
It
you,
was funnier when you danced with the kids in Kenya and fell off the stage.
yeah, I know that I do have a picture of that one there, dancing with the kids in Kenya. So, and
That was
and
funny.
also, I appreciate you letting me go on various mission adventures, and I know that this has really been outside of your comfort zone because I've traveled the world to different places, and actually, this is at a safari that I went
Sorry.
on, following one of the missionary trips, and there was a Maasai warrior, and these guys would patrol the grounds at night, and there were no. This was not like it was just a park that you're in with tame animals. There's wild animals and lions and all sorts of kind of threats, and that's the club that they would use as they were patrolling the park at night, and that's the only weapon that they had. So, entirely different life that some folks are living. But then a time where we were baptizing some of the folks in Cambodia, and I particularly remember one occasion when literally hundreds of people received baptism on at one time there, and it's just an event that I will never forget. But then also, there's other
Oh my goodness.
other events that I'll never forget, and I've done a lot of work in Mexico and with Southern Mexico missions, and one of the Mexicans, and in people in America, they kind of like get crazy when you call somebody a Mexican, but Mexicans are proud to be called Mexicans. And so one of the Mexicans, they asked me, "Have you ever taken the Temescal?" And I thought, I don't even know what that is.
Hmm.
And so they said, "Well, we're going to go and we're going to go over to a guy's house, and and there was this in one of the outside rooms of the house. There was this clay brick little hut that they would build a fire at one end of the hut and get the coals going, and then they would douse it with smoke. I mean, water.
Water.
So it would start to smoke. And then when it was really smoking in there, you had to crawl in and pull the blanket on top of the door to keep all of the smoke inside. And then there was these green leafy plants, and I don't remember what they were, but your job was to keep kind of like piling on these green leafy plants to generate more smoke inside of that. And so it's supposed to be a therapeutic thing. You know, here's what I discovered from taking the Temescal in Mexico is that, and I would probably do it again because I'm just that type of guy. But one of the things that I never did experience any health benefits from it. Probably have shortened the years of my life a little bit. But I recall getting on a long bus ride after that, and I was probably the stinkiest person on the bus. From because I didn't have we didn't have the chance to shower after that or anything, and you get into that little sweat lodge for all that time, and you get the smoke going, and the smoke and the sweat. It's not a pleasant combination. So those are just some of the memories, Janice, that we had throughout our years together, including sharing ice cream, which is one of the things that we frequently do, you know. And one of the things that we oftentimes do is that we go to Wendy's. And like I say, you don't have to go out. A couple of our hot date spots is going to Costco and getting a hot dog, or going to Wendy's and getting a Frosty. So I appreciate you folks.
In that picture,
yeah.
There was another milkshake just right off camera.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was yours, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I appreciate you, Janice, being so tolerant. You know, and that's one of the things about marriage is that you're in a position where you don't have the same kind of like thresholds for adventure or for, you know, other activities that your partner may have. But you've been a good sport for so many years. And I think I don't remember specifically, well, I think I might do. The first time I ever took you and the kids to a hotel, and you said what?
I'm done camping.
That's for sure. So, all right. So the whole idea behind this tonight was, and Janice said, let's talk about something positive. And so we took this little trip down memory lane. And if you enjoyed kind of like, you know, and there's nothing more boring than watching somebody else's slides, but I got some pretty cool ones, and I will try, if you're interested, to do that again next time around. Maybe not immediately next time, but here again soon. Janice?
Well, I'd just like to say that when I think about, you know, a marriage and the time you spend in your lifetime together, is that I think we didn't spend a ton of money. We had a very nice wedding, and we had like 200 plus people at our wedding, you know, and everything.
Mm-hmm.
It was an old-fashioned wedding, you know, back in the day. But it was very nice, you know, and it was, you know, very, so, I mean, like, we really took our vows seriously when we decided to get married, you know. And then when we went on our honeymoon, we actually went to my grandparents' cabin, and it was super hot there and everything, and they didn't have air conditioning or anything. And we just decided that we were going to go back to our little apartment.
We've had enough of this.
And yeah, and just kind of like unpack, you know, gifts and, you know, start our life together, you know, in our little house and everything. And I think that we just really spent time enjoying being together. And getting to know one another even better and everything. And it was, I think sometimes it's the simple things that mean the most in your life. Yeah. And then when we had kids, I think it's important to really, like ministers don't make a lot of money, and Kerry did not make a lot of money back in that time. But we could make it. We had bought a condo. We had actually, we weren't renting it. We had bought it. And
Mm-hmm.
when we got it, our rent was, our payment was like $320 a month, and we didn't know how we were going to make it, but we thought we could, but we were going to have to really be tight about how we could live there. But we lived in that condo for a long time. But our kids were born there, and then we had all of these memories. Like, we had this refrigerator box that Carrie made into a little playhouse for the girls in the dining room, which was a small dining room. It took up all the room, but the kids loved it, and they played with it for a long, long time, and I, when Karen started school, I started pinning up all their pictures. There was two places. We had a laundry room with two doors in the kitchen, and I put all of their pictures on those doors. And then we had a staircase, so I put kids' pictures all the way up the wall to the top, so that they were always on display and stuff. And I used to decorate for holidays and all these kind of things. And I think the kids really just enjoyed that, even though we didn't have a lot of money, because my whole point in saying that Key wasn't making a lot of money is he was the sole breadwinner for the family, because I stayed home with the kids. And it wasn't always easy financially, but it was the best decision we ever made. And I remember one day I was walking the kids, we were going to go to the park, and we walked past a daycare, and they're like, "Mom, why are those kids at school?" And I said, "Well, they're there because both of their parents work, and so they go there while their parents are working, and then they can go home afterward, And they were like, "We're so glad we don't have to go to daycare, that we can just stay at home,
Yeah.
So I think that really made an impression on them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think then, as they've gotten older and they moved away and everything, is that we talk on the phone a lot. We we share our lives together and everything. And I think that some of these things you can do without costing anything, just be there for one another. And, it's just, I guess, to stay married for 50 years, you just have to really put some effort into it, to have fun and to enjoy one another. And, I don't know.
Yeah. I think you said it well.
Yeah.
So, well, we appreciate you folks being with us tonight, and we'll circle back around. And I don't know exactly what we're going to do next time, but we'll figure out something.
Yeah, we might be running out of stuff.
All right. Okay. All right. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.